Andy Milligan, playwright, screenwriter, cinematographer, actor, film editor, producer, and director. Andy Milligan, February 12, 1929, June 3, 1991, was an American playwright, screenwriter, cinematographer, actor, film editor, producer, and director, whose work includes 27 films made between 1965 and 1988. Andrew Jackson Milligan Jr. was born on February 12, 1929, in St. Paul, Minnesota. He was a self-taught filmmaker and was responsible for much of the creative activity on his films, including cinematography and costume design. Milligan was an Army brat. His father, Andrew Milligan Sr., 1895 to 1985, was a captain in the U.S. Army who served in the military for over 50 years, retiring in the mid-1960s holding the rank of colonel. The family frequently moved around the country as a result of this. Milligan's mother, Marie Gladys Hull, 1903 to 1953, was an overweight alcoholic with severe physical and mental health problems who served as an inspiration for some of Milligan's film characters. Milligan's parents met and married in 1926. He was close to his father, who affectionately called him Junior, but had a very troubled relationship with his mother, who was both physically and mentally abusive towards all her children as well as her husband. Milligan had an older half-brother named Harley Leroy Hull, 1924 to 1996, and a younger sister named Louise Milligan, 1931. After finishing high school in 1947, Milligan enlisted in the U.S. Navy, serving for 4 years. After his honorable discharge in 1951, he settled in New York City, where he acted on stage, and opened a dress shop. During the 1950s, Milligan became involved in the nascent off-Broadway theater movement, where he mounted productions of plays by Lord Dunsany and Jean Genet at the Cappuccino, a small Greenwich Village coffee house that served as a hothouse for rising theater talent like Lanford Wilson, Tom Ien, and John Gare. Milligan also became involved with directing low-key theater productions at the La Mama Experimental Theatre Club. During this period, he operated and designed for a clothing boutique named Ad Lib and used his dressmaking skills to costume many theatrical productions. In the early 1960s, Milligan began making films. He met some of the actors for his early films at Cappuccino. His first released film was a 30-minute black-and-white 16mm short drama entitled Vapors, 1965. The film, set on one Friday evening in the St. Mark's Baths, a gay bathhouse for men, portrays an emotionally awkward and unconsummated meeting between two strangers. Milligan was later employed by producers of exploitation films, particularly William Mishikian, to direct softcore sexploitation and horror features, many featuring actors known from the off-Broadway theater community. Most of his early exploitation films fell into the morality play genre. Milligan's plays and films explored topics of transgression and punishment, dysfunctional family relationships, repressed sexuality, homosexuality and physical deformity, and include such titles as Depraved, 1967, The Naked Witch, 1967, The Promiscuous Sex, 1967, The Degenerates, 1967, The Filthy Five, 1969, Gutter Trash, 1969, The Ghastly Ones, 1968, Seeds of Sin, 1968, Fleshpot on 42nd Street, 1973, The Rats Are Coming. The Werewolves Are Here, 1973, and Girl, The Mad Monk, 1970. Most of Milligan's early works are currently considered lost films. In 1966, Milligan set up his residence in a Victorian-era mansion located in St. George, Staten Island, within a mile walking distance of the Staten Island Ferry. The house soon became what he dubbed Hollywood Central, where he filmed several of his movies. Milligan wrote, directed, built sets and sewed costumes for nearly all of his films. His usual stock company was often supplemented by Staten Island and locals. Milligan's first movies were shot with a single handheld 16mm Oricon sound on film news camera. This technique was inspired by Andy Warhol and allowed Milligan to move the camera around at will, at times punctuating violent scenes with his swirl camera technique, through which he would spin the camera and point it to the ground. Often working with budgets under $10,000, his movies feature very tight framing that helped cover up his very low budgets, particularly in the case of the period pieces that were most of his horror movies. His ability to make movies with such low budgets is why Milligan often hired him, and Milligan's influence on the 42nd Street Grindhouse circuit meant that Milligan's pictures played there often. Milligan filmed all of his movies on short ends, using old and unsewed leftover film reels of 16mm and later 35mm film that he acquired through various means from other film sets as a means to keep production costs down.